We move on. Daniel from Thank You. Daniel, could you share the challenges you've seen in engaging the retail and corporate sector with your social mission?
I think what was just kind of touched on then is one of the most important and vital things that often social enterprises are not great at, which is selling the vision. And doing it in a way that is not just compelling, but actually convincing and then delivering on that pitch. And I never forget this one moment where I was sitting on a couch, not much bigger than this, and I was about to present to a big corporate. And on the wall, it had this quote, and it said, "An idea isn't worth much." I thought, that's a bit discouraging. I'm about to pitch, right? And it said, "Its value is found in its execution." And I think that sums up social enterprise. The idea, although many of us in this room wake up about our idea, our cause, our mission, those of you working with social enterprises, you're seeing these really passionate people, they love their idea. The truth is, in itself, it isn't worth much, but the value is found in the execution of that idea. And I want to unpack that a bit. I've got a couple of slides as well. But our idea begins with, I suppose, a moment for me that was very confronting, which was when I first saw the world water crisis and I was watching videos of kids as young as 4 and 5 talking about how they were losing their brothers and sisters from waterborne disease. Now, I put this photo up because for me it moved me. But I have learnt that cause, social impact, it doesn't sell. Which is an interesting thought. This gets me out of bed and in the morning every single day. I mean, literally, I was so shocked that we live in a world where at the time in 2008, 900 million people didn't have access to clean water. It's a lot of people. Yet at the same time, globally, we were spending $50 billion on bottled water. And for those of you who know our story, we launched a brand of bottled water based on this premise that I personally think bottled water is probably the dumbest product on the planet. Is there anyone else who agrees with that? Few laughs? Yeah, cool. Now this question's important, do not lie, but put up your hand in this room if you have ever bought a bottle. Yes. I just wanted to do that because we're like, yeah, bottled water's silly. I'm silly. So we are doing this. We are part of this. Right now it's a $160 billion industry. Mind-blowing. It's wrong, but what's more wrong is the fact that we are losing 4,500 children every day from waterborne disease. And so for me, I saw an opportunity to launch a brand of water that would give 100% of the profit and essentially empower us, the consumer, to help end extreme poverty, help fund water projects. And that was the idea. But I learnt that the cause, the mission, was enough to get us in the room. And sometimes if we were lucky, we'd get a smile. But that's about where it would stop. Because the reality of business, the reality of corporate, the reality of retail is there are a lot of expectations and pressures. And you can sit back and kind of cross your arms and say, man, they didn't get my vision. They've got no heart. But from our experience, you can't afford to do that. You have to sit down and go, yeah, this is what wakes me up in the morning. And deep down, every human is good. And we just heard that people will go home and tell their family about the decision they just made and the difference they've made. And that is true, and we've experienced that with our products now stocked in many corporates throughout Australia and retailers. But there's a lot of things you have to tick along the way to get there. The idea itself of social change is amazing, but the execution is everything. We have learned if we are not the best bottled water company, we will lose business. We've learned if we do not deliver in time on full to the 98% expectation minimum, we will lose an account. We've had to become very disciplined and very focused on delivering our product, our service, as well as delivering our impact globally and tracking it and proving it and auditing it. And it's in that execution that we've seen this idea grow. So our great challenge was breaking into a market that is dominated by some pretty big companies. And for 3 years, we couldn't get this one bottle of water into any major retailer in Australia. So who's been in this room and you've got an idea, you've tried to pitch it and people don't get it? Just me? No, a few of us. Good. One or two on the panel? All right. Appreciate the honesty, right? So that's a frustrating moment. It's like, but can't you see what I see? Particularly if it's got anything social that you're emotionally or you're passionate about. It's like, why can't you see the vision? Now, we had that for 3 years. And we could have easily gone, well, no retailer sees us. And they loved the cause, don't get me wrong. They weren't being cruel, but they were being realistic. You're in a market where there's big brands, and in the retail space, probably a little bit different to corporate, but in retail it's so competitive that the big brands will invest $3 to $5 million in a new product launch. So when you don't have that sort of money and you've got Facebook and a good cause, and a big smile, it doesn't get you much. But we had to own that. We had to sit back and go, okay, for this particular retailer, or in fact the entire retail market, they're not backing us, but we believe in this vision. How can we get them to see our vision? See, their one big issue was, it's too much of a risk putting you on the shelf because what if it doesn't sell? And we're like, nah, it will. People will buy it. Oh, everyone we talk to says they'll buy it. My mum will buy it. Everyone will buy it. We had to remove the risk. So here's how we removed the risk. We launched a video on YouTube. Now, this sounds controversial, but we launched a video on YouTube and we called it the 7-Eleven campaign. 7-Eleven in Australia is the largest convenience retail chain. And the video just simply said, hey, everybody, 2 weeks from today, we're presenting to 7-Eleven. Can you jump onto their Facebook wall and say, 7-Eleven, if you stock thank you water, I'd buy it. And now, some people are like, that's ambush marketing. And we're like, oh, it's sort of more pre-awareness. But remember, we're solving the problem of they don't believe that people are going to buy it. How can we convince them? So this is what plays out. These are videos. I'm going to play a few of them. This is what people upload onto the 7-Eleven Facebook wall over a 2-week period. So check this out.
Okay, let's get down to business.
Hey guys, Jules Lund here from Getaway.
Hi, I'm Patricia Santiago.
Hi, my name is Mike.
I'm Kat.
I'm Paul.
Hey guys, I'm John here.
My name is Lucy.
This is Mosaic and Drew.
Vita Adam here.
My name's Rich.
My name's Louis.
Who's Dean Gaia?
Christopher Wayne.
My name's Rudy.
Joanna.
Hello.
Tia.
Teresa.
Kate. Debbie.
Ross.
Daniel.
That's Craig and I'm a waterholic.
I love Thank You Water.
Where's your thank you water?
We love Thank You Water.
7-Eleven, please stop thank you water.
7-Eleven, stop Thank You Water. I'll get Daddy to buy it.
Thank you, water. Thank you, water.
If you stocked it, I would buy
I
it.
would definitely buy it.
I'd buy it.
I would buy it.
I would definitely buy them.
On and on and on and on. And it's crazy, but what are we doing? We're solving the challenge. How do we know people will buy it? This went viral on social media. Media covered it, and within a month we had that ranging in 7-Eleven. From day one, we outsold Evian, which is like naive, backwards. But Evian, Coolridge, right? So literally, we were right. Everyone will back this. We were right about that, but we had to find a way to convince them, and that's probably the greatest lesson we've ever learned. Actually owning it, that when you walk out of that meeting, if they're not on board, that is your issue. You can say it's their issue and that's fine, go to sleep, that's fine, move on. But I challenge you, how can you find a way? Our story is just doing that again and again and again. So year 5, the 2 biggest supermarkets in our country, Coles and Woolworths, who have 70% market share, had said no to our water for 5 years. That's a lot of no's. And over those 5 years, we'd also developed a food range that fund food programs and a body care range where all-profit funded health and sanitation projects. These are really good quality products, things that we believed in, we personally loved. And again, the challenge, as one little water brand that can't get one bottle in, how are you going to get your 50 million products in? And we did something a little unconventional, you could say. We launched a little video on YouTube called the Coles and Woolworths campaign. Now, when we did this, it was one of my favorite lines, but when we did this, media were like, you can't put the 2 biggest supermarkets who hate each other, in the same sentence. And it was a dumb answer, but I'm like, Wesley, our graphic designer, he didn't find it too hard. He sort of did it. And so, now this is crazy. So we've got people singing, dancing, rapping again. We may have flown this from a helicopter. So Coles, thank you for changing the world, in brackets, if you say yes. Obviously, we hadn't met yet, so this was before the meeting. So we flew over Melbourne and around the head office for half an hour. And to be fair, Woolies got one too, yeah. It was a crazy day. But we were owning our challenge, which is big retail not buying into, the low budget, social, little random thing that we're presenting to them. This led to arranging in Coles after 5 hours from that meeting and 3 hours after the Woolworths meeting. Broke every record in Australia. And what's interesting is that wasn't just Facebook hype. There's now 55 products on the market in Australia, including our nappy range that funds infant and maternal health projects. Products like our hand wash are ranked number 1 and number 2 in the entire category. This is outselling all of the global competitors, and it's gone on to help us raise over $5.5 million, but my favorite number is the 750, yeah. At the beginning I said cause doesn't sell, and sell is kind of this dirty word, but cause, it captures us. Even in that moment, we're all like, wow. And the people that have bought into it, the people that have made the decisions, even Peter and Jeff, the helicopter pilots that flew for free, that used their small business to make an impact bigger than just them. You could call that social procurement. We're all moved by this, and we are all driven by this purpose, but we have to, like I said, deliver now 55 products to thousands of outlets, 98% of the time delivery in time on full. The backing up of this idea, the execution has to be remarkable. So my challenge in this room is this. I actually love that the conversations change, because when we started in 2008, every time I walked up to any meeting and said social enterprise, it was just blank stares. Social impact, I tried all the words. Now it's changing. You're about to hear some stories of other corporates that have come on board. Like the shift is happening, and it is so exciting. But when we hear numbers like $3 billion times, I lost the maths on that, but billions and billions of dollars of opportunity, it takes boldness. So can I challenge all of us in this space? I believe the key to the millions, then hundreds of millions, and then billion-dollar impact, it comes from unconventionality. Being unconventional. I'm actually not sure if unconventionality is a word, but being unconventional. Literally being willing to challenge the system. So my final thought is this. It's a crazy idea we launched 18 months ago. See, one of our challenges is in funding and growing our movement. We give all of our profit. We're a unique social enterprise that does that. We have no equity partners. And, it's a challenge to scale. So we launched this book, and really this book was an idea of unconventional thinking. And the book said this. This is our first chapter. It's called Chapter 1. 100% of the profit from Chapter 1 will fund Chapter 2, the future of thank you. We said, buy the book, fund the future. And we had a dream to launch into New Zealand, which we launch in February next year, but we wanted to raise funds to crowdfund for that. We set a target of $600,000, as that's how much we thought we needed to launch in New Zealand, and people backed this. But what you have to understand about this in itself is a best-selling book in Australia is 5,000 copies. In New Zealand, it's 3,000 copies. But to launch in a new country like New Zealand, we'd need $600,000. To launch globally, we'd need millions. People looked at us like, you're crazy, a book? That's not gonna raise the money that you need. A bestseller would be lucky to make about $50,000 profit. But to us, this isn't a book, it's an idea. And while ideas aren't worth much, if you execute them well, they can change the world. We launched Chapter 1 with no retail price. We said it's pay what you want. How does that work? You just you pay what you want. And in the first 2 hours, Chapter 1 ends up raising $360,000. In its launch month, we didn't hit our target. We exceeded it. We hit $1.44 million profit, selling 55,000 copies of Chapter 1. And today, the book sits at 2.4 million raised and 100,000 copies sold. What kind of blows my mind, some people have paid 5 cents, literally. We actually have their addresses. And But the most paid was $5,000 here in Auckland at an event until it got topped just recently, 3 weeks ago, on an online order. A lady named Karen paid $50,000 for a copy. And yeah, I mean, I emailed her like, do you want another copy? And trust me, the book's not that good, but it's an idea. And social change is that, but here's the point about unconventional thinking. As we talk about corporate procurement, as we talk about growing into the millions, then the billions, we have to think different. This book appears to be printed the wrong way. Now, don't worry, it's not. We did our research, and there was no bestseller in Australia, New Zealand, Europe printed in this format. We thought, well, that's an opportunity. You think opportunity would be annoying, but we changed it. So we changed the convention. Now, I did get the question, how did you change the convention? I was like, we hit rotate on the print file. And that's it. We changed it. Paul loves that. Paul Dunn, B1G1 legend. So, but here's the crazy part behind it. Not only is it now the first bestseller sideways book, but if you were to read that book on a plane or in public, that's invisible. You read that book and it just cut through in front of consumers because what are you doing? Win number 2 is it makes you feel uncomfortable, and there's a chance you'll never read our story because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Therein lies what I think is probably the greatest secret to this whole thing. Because if we're willing to get out of our comfort zone, if we're willing to hit rotate on whatever print file we have, that's where the crazy stuff happens. That's where we take it from what is hundreds of thousands to one day millions of people in impact. That's how we go from just an idea to execution to truly remarkable impact. So let's be unconventional, let's challenge the system, and thank you.